The views expressed in this blog are hosted on my own website, are strictly personal, and do not reflect the views of any organization. Hello and welcome once again to Straight Bat, my weekly video blog where, as the title suggests, I comment with a straight bat. This week's title of Straight Bat, Riot After Riot, where I examine the anatomy and chronology of a riot. Bilkul, chronology samajhiye, as they say. This time, this is the chronology of a riot that took place in one of my home states of Maharashtra, in the small town or large town now of Amravati, about 152 kilometers away from Nagpur in the region of Vidarbha. Amravati has a personal connection. My great-grandmother was from Amravati, and there's a Mudholkar mark, and that's where she grew up. Now, trouble started in Amravati last Friday when the Raza Academy, which is a Sunni Muslim group headquartered out of South Central Mumbai's congested Mohammed Ali Road area, more South Mumbai than South Central. And there were processions that the Raza Academy carried out across towns like Malegaon, Nanded, and indeed Amravati, protesting against the violence that had taken place in Tripura against Muslim groups. Now, the Raza Academy claims to be a literary and charitable organization which, apart from publishing books on literature or religious literature, has worked among COVID victims last year and earlier among those who were victims of Kerala floods as well. But it's also very clearly a devout Islamic Sunni organization, and it has led street protests in the past as well. Most infamously, it was this very Raza Academy that had staged a morcha in August 2012 at Azad Maidan, and the Amar Jyoti Memorial at the time was attacked, and there was those terrible pictures that came in. This was in protest against what they said were atrocities that were being carried out against Muslims in Assam and Myanmar. As a result, Amar Jyoti Memorial was desecrated, and in police firing in 2012, 2 people died and 63 were injured. Unfortunately, there was no crackdown at the time on the Raza Academy. There was a Congress NCP government in Maharashtra, and frankly, the government should have done much more in ensuring that the culprits behind the violence were prosecuted. Maybe that is what has emboldened the Raza Academy to believe that they are now at the forefront of street protests in Maharashtra. The Academy has since even carried out protests once against French President Emmanuel Macron a few years ago over cartoons on the Prophet by Charlie Hebdo, the satirical French magazine. Now, this time, it was the images that had been coming out and that were shared across social media of alleged violence against Muslim shops, mosques in Tripura. There were all kinds of graphic images that were being thrown on social media, and this angered the Raza Academy, and they decided to hit the streets. And this is where the violence in Amravati began, because there was stone throwing during the protests and shops were vandalized last Friday. But we need to do a backstory, and that's what this Straight Bat wants to show, how a riot in a way is engineered today. Now, the BJP government in Tripura, remember, claims that the violence that took place in their state is baseless and based on false rumors. They've even gone and filed UAPA cases against several people, including lawyers, claiming that they were against a conspiracy against the state. Now, the Supreme Court has intervened and made clear no coercive action can be taken in this case. But here is the truth, my friends. There was violence in Tripura. We now have photographic images that are there that we have reconfirmed, where the violence did take place against shops, many of them owned by Muslims, particularly in the Gomati district, where the Vishwa Hindu Parishad took out a procession earlier this month or last month against the violence that had taken place in Bangladesh, during Durga Puja there against Hindu temples and homes where Islamic radical groups were responsible. Now, please understand, Tripura is surrounded on three sides by the Bangladesh border. So, it's important to recognize the geographical chronology in a way. There is violence in Bangladesh against Hindus. There is retaliation that takes place against local Muslims in Tripura. This violence does get magnified on social media, where there are inflammatory hashtags like Tripura burning. There are reports that are put up all that every mosque has been vandalized across Tripura. We've gone and checked. There are a couple of places where yes, there are acts of vandalism that took place. But if you look at the social media images, you think that all of Tripura is burning, every Muslim is being attacked there. As I said, many of these reports were unconfirmed, a few of them were true. The government of Tripura was clearly in denial. On the other hand, there were those who were exploiting this violence. So, you've got a situation where in the age of social media, news travels in real time, uncorroborated reports in Tripura spark off a wave of anger that eventually reaches Mumbai and the Raza Academy headquarters. Please understand, therefore, how this is building up. The Raza Academy then hits the street, claims the protest will be peaceful, but the protest in Amravati in particular leads to stone pelting in the heart of the city. Shops are attacked, owned by Hindus this time, in some areas on Friday. Next day, which is a Saturday, the BJP steps in and calls a bandh. All their local leaders gather at the main chowk there, and they, in a way, while they are there, violence takes place, and this time shops are ransacked, cars are damaged, many of them belonging to the average ordinary citizen there. The Amravati police then is called in, brings the violence mercifully to an end reasonably quickly, but by then property has been destroyed. No one died, but more worryingly, the communal peace in Amravati has been shaken. Many of those subsequently arrested are linked to the BJP, including an ex-minister in the Maharashtra government and several local cooperators. It doesn't end there, my friends. Early next year, Amravati will go to the polls along with several municipal corporations across Maharashtra. The last time that polls were held there, the BJP had won it in 2017. They had won Amravati's municipal corporation, largest party, 45 out of 87 seats. This time though, they are facing a formidable challenge because the Shiv Sena, NCP, Congress are in power in Maharashtra and therefore some believe have the advantage. So, how does one take on this Shiv Sena led alliance? In a city like Amravati, there is a large Muslim population. Now, could one idea be that you widen the communal divide, project yourself as the savior of the Hindus, blame the state government for the violence, use the Raza Academy which has been responsible for triggering the violence in a way, as I said, widen the communal divide as a result, and well, hope to win an election. I fear that this is the route that some mischief mongers, some possible local BJP leaders, and dare I say, some members of the Raza Academy took in Amravati. And of course, anti-social elements who are always present to take advantage of the situation. Once again I say, chronology samajhiye. Targeted violence against Hindu temples and homes in Bangladesh, retaliatory violence in Tripura, rumors that spark off street violence because social media has exaggerated possibly the violence, ends up in a communal clash in Amravati. So, from Bangladesh to Amravati, a riot after riot of violence after violence has moved. This, my friends, is what should worry us. This is what happens when religion gets fused with politics to create a toxic combustible mix in our country. This is what happens when hate politics is normalized, when Hindus and Muslims are pitched constantly as permanent enemies, where radical groups are in a way allowed to get away with their actions. And that is why we should be worried, because that is where political parties benefit from this violence. I have said this many times before, but I will say it once again today on the straight bat. There must be, repeat, must be zero tolerance against all forms of violence, be it that in Kashmir, be it in Tripura, be it in Maharashtra, or dare I say in Kerala, where earlier this week an RSS worker was hacked to death. Those in power, both in state governments, but especially at the center, in the Home Ministry, need to ensure that they take strict action and don't allow this Hindu-Muslim politics to be played out. Stop making inflammatory remarks. Stop preying on the fears and prejudices of the average Indian, because it is the armed Indian who suffers in these acts of violence. And that's why all of us Indians need to wake up to the chronology of a riot. And yes, just stop mixing religion with politics. Else we will have riot after riot. Think about it. That was the straight bat. Thanks for watching. Namaskar. Do subscribe to my YouTube channel for plenty more such videos. Bye for now.